Hey everyone, welcome back. Ready to dive into some seriously cool stuff happening in the world of real estate.
Yeah, this one's all about AI.
Specifically, we're looking at how global policies are starting to shape the way we value property using AI.
It's a pretty complex topic, but don't worry, we've got you covered.
We'll be breaking it all down for you, looking at some pretty fascinating sources.
We've got an in-depth article that focuses on global AI policies, and get this, how they're being used in real estate appraisal.
Oh, and we've also got a report that dives into how AI is influencing global commerce and trade regulations.
Can't forget about our local expert. We'll be taking a look at the website of an appraiser right here in Pennsylvania who specializes in AI-driven commercial appraisals.
Okay, so let's jump right into that first article on global AI policies. It gives us a really great overview of how different parts of the world are tackling AI regulations.
It's really interesting to see how different regions are approaching this. Take the European Union, for example. They're kind of pioneering a risk-based approach with their AI Act.
The AI Act.
Yeah, the AI Act. What's fascinating about it is that it actually classifies AI applications based on their risk level. It's like giving AI algorithms a danger rating based on how they might impact, say, safety or privacy, even fundamental rights.
Wow, a danger rating for AI. It makes you think about the accountability aspect.
Totally. And you can imagine the impact this could have on appraisers in Europe. They might have to actually prove that the AI tools they use meet certain ethical and safety standards.
That makes a lot of sense. Now, across the pond, the U.S. seems to be taking a bit of a different approach, right?
Oh, definitely. The US is really putting the focus on innovation. It's more of a flexible approach, letting each industry kind of figure out its own regulations.
Through a more sector-specific strategy.
Exactly. And because of that, we're seeing a ton of AI tools specifically designed for real estate appraisal popping up, all with the goal of boosting accuracy and efficiency.
Sounds like a smart move. Different approaches, but the same goal in mind. Now, let's talk about China. They've got some pretty ambitious goals when it comes to AI.
They're really aiming to become the global leader in AI by 2030. And with those ambitions, they're pouring a ton of money into AI research and development.
Which means
Well, we could see some really groundbreaking AI models emerging from China. Who knows, they might even influence appraisal practices around the world.
AI innovation, a global phenomenon. It's exciting, isn't it?
Mm.
And speaking of global, the UK is another key player here, especially with their focus on global standards and collaboration.
Yeah, the UK is all about working together. They're really involved in those international AI safety summits, trying to create some sort of common set of guidelines for everyone to follow.
So kind of like a ripple effect. These global standards then influence what happens locally.
Exactly. And speaking of approaches, we can't forget about Canada. They're big on responsible AI, really emphasizing those ethical considerations.
I like that. Responsible AI. What does that look like in practice?
Well, they're putting a lot of effort into research and international collaborations, all aimed at making sure AI development aligns with, well, human values.
That's reassuring to hear.
Yeah, and this focus on ethical AI could have a huge impact on property assessment. I mean, it promotes fairness and transparency, which are crucial in valuations.
Absolutely. So we've got a sense of the global policy landscape, but let's bring it down to earth a bit. Our article highlights some real-world examples of how AI is being used in real estate.
Let's start with Africa. They're using AI to tackle a major challenge, access to property information. Think about areas where it's been really hard to collect traditional data.
Difficult terrain, limited records, those sorts of things.
Right, so they're turning to AI, specifically using it with satellite imagery to map out building footprints.
So you can see the outlines of the buildings from space, and AI can interpret that data.
You got it. Google's Open Buildings dataset is a great example. They're using this approach to pinpoint locations and even the shapes of buildings across Africa.
It's like having an AI-powered eye in the sky. Amazing. Now, switching gears a bit, what about retail? I hear Japan is doing some interesting things with AI in that sector.
Absolutely. They're using it to analyze shopping mall occupancy rates and see how well different tenants are performing. Imagine heat maps that show foot traffic patterns and consumer behavior.
That's incredible. You can see where people are congregating, what stores they're drawn to.
Yep. And that's super valuable data for mall operators who can then, make adjustments to the layout, decide which stores to keep, all that jazz.
Maximize success. Okay, last but not least, let's hop back over to the UK. They're doing something pretty revolutionary with online property valuations.
Have you heard of Homer? It's this cool AI tool that assesses properties just from images using visual AI.
Seriously. just from pictures.
Yeah, it analyzes the structure, even gets a sense of the interior aesthetics.
So it's like a virtual home inspector.
In a way, yes. And this all helps to make those online valuations even more accurate.
Wow, these examples really paint a clear picture of how AI is changing the game in real estate, and not just in one corner of the world. But what does all this mean for the appraisers themselves? That's something we'll definitely need to explore further, maybe get our experts' take on it all.
It's definitely a game changer, and honestly, I think it's a bit of a wake-up call for the industry.
How so?
Well, we can't just keep doing things the old way. AI is forcing us to really rethink those traditional appraisal methods and how we use data.
It's about adaptation then.
100%. And it's not just about learning to use these new AI tools, but really understanding what they mean for the profession as a whole. Appraisers need to stay ahead of the curve.
So it's a whole new skill set for the modern appraiser.
Exactly. Think about it. Ethical considerations, data privacy, regulatory compliance, those are all crucial things appraisers need to be aware of as AI becomes more integrated into their work.
It's a lot to consider. And speaking of resources, I noticed our article mentioned something from the IAAO, the International Association of Assessing Officers. Seems pretty relevant.
Oh, yeah, the IAAO has been really proactive when it comes to exploring how AI is being adopted globally in property assessment. They even published a white paper with case studies and different analytical methods, kind of a practical guide for appraisers.
Sounds like a valuable resource. What kind of insights does it offer?
Well, the IAO really highlights how AI can not only improve accuracy and efficiency in valuations, but also streamline the whole appraisal process.
Hmm.
Imagine then things like automated tasks, fewer human errors, all that good stuff.
So freeing up appraisers' time so they can focus on more complex tasks.
Exactly. More time for analysis, client interaction, you name it. But, and this is important, the IAO doesn't just focus on the positives. They're really upfront about the potential pitfalls, too.
Like what?
Well, they really emphasize ethical considerations, making sure AI is being used fairly and transparently. That's
Mhm.
crucial.
A balanced approach, recognizing the potential, but also making sure it's implemented responsibly.
Couldn't have said it better myself. It's all about harnessing the power of technology while still maintaining that integrity and professionalism that defines the appraisal profession.
Makes sense. And speaking of responsible implementation, that brings us to our second source, the report on AI's influence on global commerce and trade regulations. Something this report highlights, and I think it might surprise some people, is that AI-enabled commerce is already subject to existing trade agreements.
It's true. AI isn't operating in some sort of Wild West situation. We already have frameworks in place that apply to AI-driven transactions.
So there are some rules of the road. But, and it's a big but, AI is evolving so rapidly. Are policymakers keeping up? Are they doing anything to address these new challenges and opportunities?
Oh, absolutely. They're constantly working to identify any gaps in those existing frameworks and figuring out new solutions. This report really stresses the need to avoid those protectionist policies that can stifle innovation.
So collaboration over isolation.
Yeah, it's a global effort. We need to work together if we want AI to truly benefit everyone. And there are some exciting initiatives happening on that front.
Like what? Fill us in.
Well, there's the WTO, the World Trade Organization. They have this thing called the Joint Statement Initiative on e-commerce, which is basically working towards a set of rules for digital trade, and that includes AI-enabled transactions. Then you've got the G7 Hiroshima process on generative artificial intelligence, which is focused on those ethical guidelines.
On moving parts.
Right. And then we've got the OECD, the Organization for Economic Cooperation and Development. They're deeply involved in developing those AI principles and frameworks, too.
It's great to see so many organizations coming together to figure this out.
It's a complex issue for sure, but these international collaborations are essential.
Definitely. Well, that brings us to our final source for this deep dive, the website of a local appraiser here in Pennsylvania, Chandra Mast.
Yeah, this is where it gets really interesting. Chandra's firm, Red Rose Appraisals, they specialize in AI-driven commercial property valuations.
They're right on the cutting edge then, aligning their practice with those global trends we've been discussing. What can you tell us about Chandra?
Well, she's a certified general appraiser, which means she's got that solid foundation in traditional appraisal methods. But she's also really tech savvy and understands these emerging technologies. Plus, she's got this background in econometrics, applying statistics to economic data, and she's got a passion for architectural history, too.
It's a fascinating blend of old and new.
It is, and it makes her perfectly suited to bridge that gap between the traditional way of doing things and this new world of AI-driven valuation.
I love that. So she's not just keeping up, she's leading the way.
Exactly. And it just goes to show you how local expertise can connect with those global trends we've been talking about.
It's a powerful reminder that even in this rapidly changing tech landscape, human knowledge and experience are still incredibly valuable.
Totally agree. Okay, so we've covered a lot of ground here. Global AI policies, real-world examples, even met a local appraiser who's embracing these advancements.
And now, as we wrap up this deep dive, we want to leave you with one final thought to ponder. With AI getting more and more advanced, how do you see the role of the human appraiser changing? I mean, will it be a partnership, or will AI eventually kind of take over?
That's the million-dollar question, isn't it?
It is.
I think a lot of people see AI as this, like, threat. Like it's going to automate everyone out of a job. But I really don't think it's that simple.
It's more nuanced than that.
Exactly. AI is a powerful tool. But at the end of the day, it's just that, a tool.
So you're seeing a future where human appraisers and AI work together.
Oh, absolutely. Think of it this way. AI can handle a lot of that heavy lifting. Crunching numbers, analyzing data, spotting patterns, even generating those preliminary valuations.
Okay, but what about those things that require, well, a human touch?
Right. And that's where human expertise is still essential. Things like understanding those local market nuances, evaluating those really complex properties, and making sure everything's being done ethically.
That's a partnership then.
Exactly. AI augmenting human capabilities, not replacing them.
Got it. So appraisers who learn to use these AI tools effectively, they're the ones who are going to thrive.
No doubt about it.
Well, it's definitely an interesting time to be in the appraisal profession. A bit uncertain, sure, but exciting too.
Totally agree.
This deep dive has given us all a lot to think about. From those global policies shaping AI in real estate to how it could impact appraisers and that need for responsible implementation, it's a lot to process.
It is. And it's something that's going to keep evolving, so it's important to stay informed and, be part of the conversation.
Absolutely. And to our listeners, we encourage you to keep digging into this stuff, explore those advancements. Think about how AI might even change your own interactions with real estate.
Whether you're a seasoned pro or just starting out, understanding AI's role in real estate is, well, it's essential.
It is. It's the future.
It is. And remember, the future isn't something that just happens to us. We have the power to shape it.
So true. Well, thanks for joining us on this deep dive into the world of AI and real estate appraisal.
Always a pleasure.
Until next time, keep exploring.